They called it a caliphate. But what they built was an empire of fear, a movement forged in chaos, raised on terror, and baptized in blood. In just months, a shadowy band of insurgents became the most feared terrorist organization on earth. Their power spread like wildfire, their cruelty unmatched. The world watched in horror as they filmed their own atrocities and shared them like trophies. For a moment, nothing could stop them. How did a group born from the ruins of war seize so much, so fast? And what led to their spectacular collapse? Today, history remembers the rise and fall of ISIS. Before we continue, if you love deep, unfiltered stories that reveal the darkest turns of history, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and join our growing community of truth seekers. We bring you the untold side of history, the empires that fell, the leaders who vanished, and the events the world tried to forget. Subscribe now, and let's journey deeper into history's shadows. When the United States invaded Iraq in 2003, it wasn't supposed to be complicated. Remove Saddam Hussein, find weapons of mass destruction, establish democracy, and go home. The invasion part went smoothly. Everything after that didn't. Paul Bremer, head of the new U.S. administration in Iraq, made two decisions that would change history. First, he dissolved the entire Iraqi army. 400,000 trained men, suddenly jobless, angry, and armed. Second, he purged all members of Saddam's ruling party from government. That meant teachers, doctors, civil servants, the entire state apparatus. Overnight, Iraq became a nation full of skilled men with no purpose and every reason to seek revenge. Into this chaos stepped one man, Abu Musab al-Zarqawi. A street brawler from Jordan turned radical in prison, Zarqawi was no strategist, but he was brutal, and he knew how to exploit chaos. By 2003, Iraq was his playground. Bombings ripped through Baghdad, embassies, the UN headquarters, mosques, markets. He didn't just target soldiers. He hunted civilians. Shia, Sunni, it didn't matter. His goal wasn't victory, it was civil war. Zarqawi's violence had no limits. In 2004, he personally executed an American hostage on camera, a horror that shocked the world. But this wasn't madness. It was strategy. He wanted chaos, the kind that turns neighbor against neighbor. In a country already broken, his plan worked. Sectarian killings exploded. Streets filled with corpses. By 2006, Iraq was drowning in blood. And then, the Americans found him. Two guided bombs struck his hideout north of Baghdad. Zarqawi survived the blast, but not the aftermath. He was dead at 39. The world breathed a sigh of relief, believing the nightmare had ended. It hadn't. Zarqawi's followers regrouped. They didn't dissolve, they evolved. By late 2006, they renamed themselves the Islamic State of Iraq. They had no land, no legitimacy, only an idea. We're not just insurgents, they said. We're a government. The rebranding worked, psychologically at least. The movement survived U.S. airstrikes, Iraqi militias, and political purges. Many of its leaders were imprisoned in a U.S. facility called Camp Bucca, meant to contain radicals. Instead, it became their university. In those dusty compounds, future commanders met, recruited, and plotted. One of them was Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. Baghdadi wasn't a thug like Zarqawi. He had a PhD in Islamic studies, patient, calculating, cold. He understood something others didn't. The Americans wouldn't stay forever. All they had to do was wait. And wait they did. In 2011, the Arab Spring erupted. Protests swept across the Middle East. In Syria, President Bashar al-Assad met peaceful protesters with bullets. What began as demonstrations became civil war. Syria collapsed, and Baghdadi saw his opening. In 2013, he sent his fighters across the border, merging with local jihadists. The world met their new name, ISIS, the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. In June 2014, the world changed forever. Mosul, Iraq's second-largest city, home to 2 million people, and defended by 30,000 soldiers, fell in just 3 days. ISIS had only 1,500 fighters. But terror was their weapon. They had already assassinated police chiefs, judges, and officers. By the time they attacked, the city was paralyzed by fear. Soldiers fled, leaving behind tanks, artillery, helicopters, and hundreds of millions in U.S. equipment. When the black flags rose over Mosul, ISIS had done the impossible. They were no longer a movement. They were a state. A week later, they announced a caliphate, the first in nearly a century. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi became Caliph Ibrahim. He appeared once, preaching at Mosul's great mosque, promising a new Islamic empire. And millions believed him. At its height, ISIS controlled territory the size of a small country, stretching across Iraq and Syria. They governed with terrifying efficiency. Roads were repaired, garbage collected, hospitals ran for those who swore loyalty. But beneath the surface was horror. Executions in public squares, crucifixions for theft, women enslaved, children indoctrinated. They called it purity. The world called it evil. ISIS mastered modern propaganda. They produced slick magazines and high-definition videos, complete with slow motion, drone shots, and cinematic soundtracks. Terror became theater. Their message spread faster than bullets, through Twitter, Telegram, and encrypted networks. Thousands answered their call. Doctors, engineers, students, families, abandoning everything to join the so-called caliphate. Between 2014 and 2016, ISIS exported its war to the world. In Paris, gunmen and suicide bombers turned a night of music into a massacre. In Brussels, explosions tore through an airport and subway. In Orlando, a lone gunman pledged allegiance mid-attack. In Nigeria, Libya, the Philippines, affiliates rose under the same black banner. For a moment, it felt like the apocalypse had a brand, and it wore the letters IS. Their downfall began with one act of genocide. In 2014, ISIS surrounded Mount Sinjar, trapping the Yazidi minority. Thousands were slaughtered, women enslaved. The images forced America's hand. U.S. jets returned to Iraq. Operation Inherent Resolve was born. An international coalition, Americans, Iraqis, Kurds, and even Iranian-backed militias, united for one goal: destroy ISIS. Battles raged in Kobani, Ramadi, Fallujah, each city a graveyard of extremists. And then came Mosul, 9 months of urban warfare, the costliest since World War II. In 2017, the black flag fell. 2 years later, Baghdadi was dead. The caliphate was no more. The cities are free, but the idea lives on. In the prisons of Syria, children grow up beneath barbed wire, learning nothing but the songs of jihad. In Africa and Asia, new cells rise, waving the same flag, promising the same lie. ISIS lost its empire, but its shadow still moves. Because you can bomb an army, but you cannot kill an idea. This was the story of the rise and fall of ISIS, a reminder that fear, once unleashed, is hard to bury. Next time, on History Remembers, we look at why ISIS and the Taliban, despite sharing a flag of faith, became bitter enemies.